Yeah, I started working at Honda. My salary was 62,000. I get paid overtime, like 1.5, 2x whenever I work overtime. So I was like, that was the only way I know as an immigrant to how to make more money.
And then after you get some experience, you can make 80,000.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my student loans, and like, man, this is not gonna work.
I never quit a job. Like quitting just, I guess, not part of the mentality, right? Coming from Asia, it's like we grind harder, we'll figure it out, but deep inside was eating me, right? I remember at that time my whole gut was like very inflamed. I went to doctor, it was like, whatever I eat, I feel bloated. That's how you want to own Apple. Right now it's at $200. You're like, hey, I'm happy buying for $200. But I don't mind getting it for 10% cheaper, so I have some downside buffer. So I go out as an insurance company and say, hey, I want to sell you insurance contract that if Apple drop from 200 to 180 in 30 days, I will buy 100 shares of Apple from you. You already own 100 shares of Apple. But if Apple stays above 180 at the end of 30 days, I get to keep all your premium. Your way is that you're finding the most efficient way to bet a stock will go down. In my set of strategy, we're finding what's the highest probability way that I can own a stock I want to own anyway at a cheaper price.
As a day trader, I've always been curious to learn more about long-term wealth building strategies. In this podcast, I'm joined by Cody Yeh, a multimillionaire known for his success in option strategies and Warren Buffett style of long-term investments. What made our conversation really interesting was when we discovered how much similarities we have in terms of our careers before trading, the way we hustled at an early stage, and how we found our niche in the financial market and stick to it. I have a lot of respect for him being an immigrant who pushed through adversities and found success in stock options investing. Cody is going to share his flagship set and done put option strategy in this podcast. You will learn about, number 1, how he transitioned from a 9-to-5 corporate job to full-time investing. 2, how he makes a living selling options. 3, his experience in real estate and property management. 4, and his viewpoint on why he's bullish on the U.S. economy. This podcast is brought to you by Cobra Trading, my personal trading broker. Cobra Trading offers the best service for small cap stock traders, including access to hard-to-borrow stocks, limit order fee rebates, and fast order execution. I only recommend the trading tools that I use. Cobra is the broker that I recommend for traders who have moved past the beginner stage looking to improve their execution and precisions. Cobra will be inviting 3 people to tour the New York Stock Exchange with me. If you are interested in this exclusive invitation, check out the link in the description to learn more. Now let's sit back and enjoy this podcast. So Cody, I'm sure the viewers saw the thumbnail and the title. Now they want to know who you are. Before we get into the details, tell us in short how you make a living now.
Yeah, in short, I make most of my income from selling options. So I'm the insurance provider. I'm kind of like your insurance broker, and people who want to bet on the bull market, on the bear market, and I just receive a premium as the insurance seller. And of course, I have other stuff like real estate portfolio, give me a little bit of cash flow, but mainly it's from selling option.
So you are wearing a few hats right now. Tell us about who you were before your success, and where do you call home?
Yeah, so home is Taiwan for me. I was born there, almost finished my high school, and then I came to Canada with a student visa. I wasn't an immigrant back then, and I had a decision to make. It's like what I want to study for my university. And as you know, in Asia, we weren't trained to have a critical thinking. So at that time, my thinking was that I want to study something that, so when I come right out of school, I can find a stable job. I don't become a burden for my family. So I chose engineer, and then I started working as engineer for Honda, the car company, as a project engineer for 6 years. And until I was 29, I moved to mid-management, and then one day I was actually fired from my job. And at that time, luckily, I accumulated some real estate portfolio, and also I started investing in stocks since 2011. So 2019, I sold one of my property, net about $500,000, put that into my trading account, and it grew into 1.6 until 2024. So now with a bigger account size and the real estate portfolio, I'm a little bit more stable, a little bit more, more grounded.
Gotcha. So what was your experience as a young immigrant student? Was there any memorable moments?
Oh yeah, I still remember, even though I study a lot of English back in Taiwan, I might not have a lot of accent where people think I have a lot of accent, but um, first year in Canada was a struggle, not because of math, not because of chemistry or physics, but really because of English, because I couldn't understand the math 12 question. So I remember there's in one exam, I raised my hand and asked the teacher to explain me the question. I'm sure I can do it. And the teacher, instead of explaining that, he's like, I can't really help you in that way. So here's a dictionary, an English to English dictionary, put it on my table and say, here you go. So I started looking up words, and I have question about one word, I end up have question about a few more words. So math is not going to be a struggle, but English is actually going to be my struggle. So that first year, I really doubled down on learning the whole language and at least try to read the question of any exam, right?
Gotcha. So before going full-time selling options and investing, what was your career?
I was an engineer. I graduated around 23 years old. And before I went back to work for Honda, I did a 16 months internship with them. And I guess I did an okay job because there was 5 people that was at that internship. And at the end, they gave out 2 return offers. I was luckily one of them. So they gave me a handshake and say, Cody, I know you're going to shop around, but if you ever want to come back, we'll always welcome you, right? So I went to interview at oil company and all that. I get a better offer. But 2014 was the year that the oil price basically cut in half. So I went back to work for Honda, and then goes on for another 6 years. I managed about $100 million in construction and process projects. Yeah, and then moved up to mid-management and mutually left the company in 2019. Yeah.
Gotcha. And how did you find out about the stock market? What was your motivation to do something unconventional?
Growing up, I have family members, very close family members that are high-income earners. They make great money, but they lost a lot of money in stocks. I still remember that, my mom picked up some phone calls in the afternoon, 15 minutes before market close. Person on the other side requested for 300,000 USD in 15 minutes, or this person's wage or salary would get garnished. High profile person. So I was like shocked by that growing up, but then also the inside me as engineers that we could figure out, we can do better, right? So that's why I started investing in boring stocks in 2011, second year in university, and then started getting to, actually I was in day trading 2015 to 2017, no shorting anything. I was actually scalping in the future market. And then I got into real estate because my mom said that, hey, real estate never goes down. If you can own 3 houses, you're pretty set for life. So that's what I did. And then luckily, all of that accumulated with wealth. Some of it's more fast money, some of it's more long term, some of it's more short term. And that's what builds me up.
Gotcha. So did you have any major setbacks, maybe losing money or taking the wrong investments?
Oh yeah. In trading for sure, in investing, yes. In business, yes. Everyday life, yes. So which one do you want to hear about?
Day trading in life and any others? Yeah, sure.
Day trading, I day trade between 2015 to 2017. I wasn't going to get into day trading if it's not for one of my friends refer me to a high profile client from the biggest brokerage in Taiwan. The reason my friend introduced me to her is because she's very young, but they saw her account has a lot of volume going on and have some consistent win. And she was only 24 years old, no social media, no nothing. So I asked to be introduced to her, and I said, can you coach me, whatever it takes? She said, I don't coach people, I just manage people's money. I'm like, okay, I'll just tag along. So I tag along, I lose money for the first 8 months. I was like slowly getting grind down on all the stop losses. I'm like, hey, I shadow you, but I'm losing money, you're winning money, why is that? She's like, you're just not ready mentally. Sometimes you gotta adjust and all that. I'm like, okay, whatever that means. And at first year, kind of break even, make a little bit of money. But yeah, the reason why I brought that up is I was having a full-time job that whole period throughout 2015 to 2017. And now it's my wife, Claudette. But back then, I was having a full-time job in the morning. I go to work at 7:30. I get off work about 5:30. I go to the gym, dinner. I hop on a computer, and I was preparing to trade the Asian market. So I'm from Eastern time. So there's a 12-hour difference. So I traded Taiwanese future market. And that's the only way I could do it because there's a 12-hour difference. So I would start trading about, preparing about 8 o'clock. I start trading about 9:30. I trade until 11. I start writing report for like 1 to 2 hours, analyzing every entry and exit. Is that part of the game? And then, I did that for a good 2 years. And bittersweet experience. At the second year, I did make some money. It was a good percentage return of 66%. But I found that it's very hard to scale in terms of mentally and in terms of lifestyle. I don't think that's a lifestyle I want because I give up all my nights from Monday to Friday, even Saturday, Sunday was studying. And I didn't go to much of a party. I missed my birthday. And even, my girlfriend at that time, thank God, become my wife. But she could have said, I don't know why you're doing this. I don't get you. I don't have date nights. So she could have ended. So that was kind of I would say my bittersweet experience and really transforming into the way I trade now, which is a lot more hands-off, a lot more said and done. Not to say that day trading don't work. I just don't think it fits my personality and the goal in my life.
Gotcha. And after university, you landed a comfortable engineering job at Honda and climbed up the ladder pretty quickly. When did you realize corporate life wasn't going to be your end game?
I started working at Honda. My salary was $62,000. I get paid overtime, like 1.5, 2x whenever I work overtime. So I was like, that was the only way I know as an immigrant to how to make more money and, save more money. And outside of the stocks, because at that time stocks were slow. Day trading was working a little bit, but I was too afraid to put in bigger amount of money and invest in real estate. So that drains my account. So I was just like, the only way I know not asking for help is that I just work more and save more. But little do we know that, I was near, like, once you get over the 100K salary, you start paying a lot of that to, our revenue agency, right? So almost half of my overtime got paid to the revenue agency. So, that's kind of like my bittersweet of my experience. And I know that is not, I can't work, like, I was looking at my pay stub for 1 year, and I remember it was 800 hours of overtime. So to put it into perspective, you work 8 hours per day. I put in 100 days more than anyone in that company. And there's only 365 days. And there's 252 days that people are working. So I basically work almost every single day, right? To accumulate up to that point. I pay half of that kind of to the revenue agency. So I'm like, well, if that's the way to get rich, I don't think that's the smartest way. And I can't do this. I was like in my 20s, so I could do it, but I know I'm at 30s and 40s. And I saw that the more I move up, the more pressure I get, the more pressure my manager get, the more I get paid maybe 10, 20% more. They don't get paid no more overtime. It's all straight salary, more responsibility. And I see a lot of them has like black circles on their eyes and always on the edge. Always I feel like they're like blowing up, very high blood pressure. So, and a lot of them actually have high blood pressure. So I just don't think that's the way I want to live my life for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so I can totally relate to that because I was, when I finished my architecture master's degree, I had to work 3 more years as a junior architect, making $26 an hour. And I saw like the architects that were working there for many years on salary. I saw they were on edge and they weren't living the life that I wanted to live in the 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I was like, wait a second. And this is definitely not going to get me rich. I'm not going to live the life that I want. So I was like, I got to figure something out. So for me, it was stock trading. I know for you, it was stock trading, it was you had a different experience, but I just that's all I knew how to do. I didn't even know options. I didn't know anything else. I just knew, I know stocks is real. And that was enough for me to focus. But yeah, the markets was a good way out of like that career trajectory, You look at yourself. So for me, it was like, man, in 20, 30 years, am I going to be happy doing this? Am I going to be able to travel? Am I going to be able to live my dreams or do what
There's more out there, right? There's just more out there.
Yeah. So it's very similar experience. And you said you were earning what, 62,000?
Yeah, so it's hourly rate is 29. So if you exchange that to 26 to Canadians, about the same thing.
So I was getting $26 an hour as a junior architect He said, but in 3 years, when you get licensed, you can get 70,000. And then after you get some experience, you can make 80,000.
Yeah.
You know, and then I looked at my student loans, and like, man, this is not going to work out, you know?
Yeah.
So how did you transition out of the full-time career, and how did you manage your finances?
Well, you call it transition, but when I moved to the mid-management at a different company, I was managing 11 engineers at that point. And that was the first time I become a manager, besides being in the leadership in the sports team since I was young. And I felt like my hands were tied to the back. The reason for that is I was told that this is a very flat company, but little do I know that they don't want to spend any budget. They don't want anything to change, but they want me to push the worker or the engineers to work more overtime, right? And I still remember that all these engineers were sitting there, making 3D drawings. They have a broken mouse, they have a broken keyboard, a broken chair, a broken screen. So I'm like, hey, let's spend a few $1,000s just to give them new stuff so they're excited. I still remember the owner tell me that they have to earn it. I'm like, they work 80 hours a year straight per week. You don't think they earn it? Like I'm losing my left hand, right hand person, the best person, they're poaching them, giving them 30% more of a raise. I told them, they're like, well, Cody, you got to find a way to keep that, use your charisma. I'm like, okay, like this is crazy. Like this is crazy. This is not what I signed up for. So I was depressed because my left and right hand are depressed. Everyone's kind of depressed. I'm like, so I was like, kind of feel like I don't have a lot of motivation, right? That's what really pushed over everything. And I will say like the experience was like 6 months in, a day before my birthday, the operational manager called my office numbers, like, Cody, come into the office. That was one day before my birthday, so I remember. So I walked in, I saw the HR lady walk with her. I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. And when they told me that, I was actually kind of smiling. I was like, yeah, keep going. And they were like, do you have any question? I'm like, no. Honestly, I was kind of relieved. They were like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, like, I didn't tell them about my real estate or like my stock option actually pay me enough premium to really replace that income. I didn't tell them that because they don't get it, right? So I'm just like, yeah, I will take a quick break. Don't worry about it. They're like, are you sure? Do you want me to walk you out? And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. I'm not breaking anything. So that was, in hindsight, that was a blessing to me. But at that moment, I think I was a little bit not normal to act that way. So they were very surprised, right? So, but looking backwards, I really thank them for giving me that boot, because if that doesn't happen, I don't know what would motivate me to really exit. And after that exit, that's when I start realizing, oh my God, there's a new world out there in terms of business, in terms of trading, in terms of freedom, and in terms of helping more people. So the right way, in my own way, right? It might not be the right way for everyone, but what I found is really just the best things on the other side of that fear. And sometimes I need someone to kick me in the butt, and I was lucky.
Wow, yeah, and I think that happens to a lot of people. They get complacent and they just do the same routine, and then they have like this idea to do something else with their life, and they see them, but they just don't have enough courage, or they're just comfortable that they can't just quit, Yeah. So sometimes when you get that boot, you're forced, and like you're like, right now I have this painting right here. Burning the boats. You ever heard of the story, Hernan Cortez, burning the boats?
The only way is up, right? Only way is keep moving forward,
you
right?
have no choice.
Yeah.
So if you're fired, or you're just let go, or just like you're forced to fight. So, but if you're in a comfortable job, even though the job is not that comfortable because you're kind of stuck in there. Yeah, for me, if I wanted to do stock trading, but I had almost maybe a 6-figure architecture career. I did architecture, and now I'm working 60 hours a week, but I'm making $100,000, and it's not exactly a perfect life, but like I'm getting by, I'm getting by, but like I'm not gonna, it's like I'm kind of stressed out all the time. The stuff we were talking about, but I want to do stock trading. How am I gonna just quit the architecture job? But if I get the boot, then I have no choice. Can you relate to our experience too? I have a question for you. If you are currently working full-time, what is your motivation to go work every day? If you don't like your current state of life, would you like to make trading work? If it's not trading, what other career ideas do you have to help you achieve your ideal lifestyle? Comment to let me know. I'd love to learn more about what you guys are currently doing. And don't forget to give this podcast a free like if you haven't.
Yeah, I think it's really define you, who you are, and I'm lucky that COVID actually hit. Right, I was booed out October 2019, and then COVID hit within 3 months, right? So I was on traveling Europe and all that, and I came back and then COVID happened. So I'm like, well, there's no way I'm gonna find another job, and that's really when I started the YouTube channel. And luckily it took off, and yeah, that was an interesting part, a really interesting transition, and kind of felt like fell on me. But looking back, it was like every single decision I make, every single grind I went through kind of built me ready for that moment. But if I didn't take all those steps, I wouldn't be ready, right, to capture that opportunity.
You had the step, you were making moves. You had the real estate, you had this.
I was like getting a lot of whole life insurance. I was buying real estate. I was like putting money in stocks, supporting some of the family member. That's all money gone. But I was like trying to do the right thing in my own sense, right? I didn't know what was the return, but now looking back, I was like, oh my God, I have so much capital. I have so much access to capital and so much more option, right? No pun intended there.
Yeah. So did you see a way out? Like, were you gonna quit or put in your 30 days or something? Or
I never quit a job. Like quitting just, I guess, not part of the mentality, right? Coming from Asia, it's like we grind harder, we'll figure it out. But deep inside was eating me, right? I remember at that time my whole gut was like very inflamed. I went to doctors, like whatever I eat, I feel bloated. Doctors, are you under a lot of stress? I'm like, I don't know if it's under a lot of stress, we're just frustrated. And I think a lot of people who are listening to this might be in that mood, just like it's not like you're stressed, you're just frustrated that you're stuck where you are. And I was lucky that someone gave me that boot, and maybe some of the people need to hear that if they have something to do, they really want to do. Maybe sometimes when that happens, I know a lot of people reach out to me and say, I lost my job, and I'm like, congratulations. That's what it changed me. But hey, here's a defining moment now. Okay, next 6 months is going to be interesting. So, keep your heads up and plowing away, right?
So for our viewers who are interested in your trading, how would you describe your options strategy?
It might sound complex, but it's actually very simple. So the way I explain it is that I am the insurance broker now. So David, you pay your car insurance or your home insurance, right? I hope.
Yeah, renter's insurance.
Okay, renter's insurance. So you pay some kind of insurance. Now, my question for you is, whether you make a claim or not, have you made a claim before on your insurance?
I've made a car. I'm 40 years old now, so I've been involved, unfortunately, in some accidents when I was a long time ago, in car accidents and renter's insurance. There was a flood in my apartment once. I did a claim.
Now, the key question is, whether you make the claim or not, the premium you pay every month, do you get it back? Did the insurance company say, oh, you didn't make a claim for 10 years, here's all your premium back. Did they give it back?
The premium?
Yeah, did they return it back to you? How much were you paying per month?
For which one?
Let's say for rent insurance.
Oh, rent insurance? It's called Lemonade Insurance.
Okay, car insurance.
Like, car insurance, I don't know. At the time, it was like $150 a month or something like that.
$150 per month. That's about $1,800 per year, right? 10 years. That's $18,000. At the end of 10 years, whether you make a claim or not, do they return you the premium?
No.
So yes. So imagine that. Now I am that insurance company, right? So we go out and sell put options on companies or stock that we really want to own, like Warren Buffett style, that let's say for Apple, or some people say Nvidia, but don't quote me on it. Just put on Apple because that's what's Warren Buffett's biggest holding. Let's say you want to own Apple. Right now it's at $200. You're like, hey, I'm happy buying for $200, but I don't mind getting it for 10% cheaper, so I have some downside buffer. So I go out as an insurance company and say, hey, I want to sell you insurance contract that if Apple drop from 200 to 180 in 30 days, I will buy 100 shares of Apple from you. You already own 100 shares of Apple. But if Apple stays above 180 at the end of 30 days, I get to keep all your premium, all the premium that you pay me as an insurance, like your car insurance or home insurance, right? And usually, something like that will pay somebody about 1% to 4% per month. So you're paying me as an insurance company to say, hey, I'm afraid that Apple stock might drop, but I'm hedging. I'm buying an insurance in case something happened and market dropped 30%, right? I'm hedging that 10%, but I'm willing to pay you 1% to 4% per month. And now I'm on the other side receiving that 1% to 4% per month. But I already know my worst case scenario is that I want to own Apple. I'm happy owning at $200. Now I have a chance owning at $180, and I get the 1 to 4% return of that premium per month. So that's the way I would explain it to people. What are we doing with our strategy?
Me as a short seller, I always looked at options from, like we were discussing it earlier, like the puts. Is it puts? And like, because I shorts scam stocks, and some of these stocks are optionable. So this is different than when, like, if a stock is up 1,000% and I get a put option way out there to give it time to come down. This is more like investing.
Yeah. So like the way that kind of your way is that you're finding the most efficient way to bet a stock will go down. In my set of strategy, we're finding that what's the highest probability way that I can own a stock I want to own anyway at a cheaper price. And because of the premium I get paid on a monthly basis, that could be my cash flow or further bring down the cost basis for the stock I really want to own anyway. So the basis fundamental is that you have to want to own the stock for 5 to 10 years at least, kind of like Warren Buffett. But the gravy on top is that, hey, you can have a cash flow when you don't get to own the stock, right? If it's above 180, you don't get to buy any stock, but you can just rinse and repeat, right? So that's kind of like the difference. There's fundamentally a different mentality when we go into a certain things, right? The way I put it is that I want to be right and make money even when I'm wrong. For example, if the stock is 200, it dropped to 181, I still keep my premium, I don't need to buy Apple. If it's 200, go to 210, 220, I still keep my premium, I don't get to buy any Apple. But if Apple dropped from 200 to 170, yeah, I need to buy Apple at 180. Some people might be like, okay, Cody, now it's 170, but sorry, that was the risk I'm willing to take. I put a bet on, I sell the insurance on, if it dropped more than 10%, I have to buy more than 10%. But it's still better than buying at 200 at that point, right? So I'm always putting in a downside buffer, getting that cash flow. And once I own the stock, I own the stock, right? I can write out the appreciation if I want to, but I already got a 10%.
And early on, when you were doing when you got booted from the job, were you doing this same thing? Because you made money back then too.
This is right after the day trading in 2017. That's when I started looking to options, and I read a lot of Warren Buffett's book. And what struck my eye, what really struck me, surprised me, was that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway is making billions of dollars every year from writing option contracts. So I looked through the entire financial statement and found out, oh my God, 2 billion, 2018, 1.2 billion, 2019. I'm like, what is that derivative contract? So I dig into it and I found out he was selling option on Coca-Cola over the 50 years, trying to own Coca-Cola. He wants to own it, but he was like, hey, if there's market volatility, I want to own it at a cheaper price. So I have a downside buffer and I get it at a better price. So he was doing that. Even in 2018, when the financial crisis happened, when the market dropped big time, he went around and sell a put option on the SPX, on the S&P 500, and said, you know what, 10 years from now, if it's not higher, I'm willing to buy SPX at this price. And we all know what happened. SPX never looked back, right? So he made hundreds of millions just from that contract.
Wow, so he's not just buying stock, he's doing options.
Yeah, he's doing option actually, and he doesn't talk much about it because he thinks most people won't get it, or maybe that's a secret weapon that he doesn't want people to know.
For me, that's why I focus on stocks, because I came in 2016, I didn't know anything. I just came out of graduate school. I was financially illiterate. So if someone would have explained options to me, it would have been like another language, like delta and this and gamma and squeeze, and it went over my head. It's hard. Maybe it's just overwhelming at first, but once you're in that world, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. You know, but like for me, stocks, even short selling at the beginning was kind of like a mind boggling kind of thing, because like
you're reversed.
Yeah. So, and then options, it just sounded really overwhelming. And at first glance, you really got to spend a little bit of time to get familiar. And then it starts to make sense. It's like, okay, so it's actually, you can comprehend it, you know? So, but with going back to Buffett, so a couple things there. First, now in 2025, he's sitting on his largest cash position ever. Have you looked at that?
Yeah.
And so I want to get your comments on that. And then also before that, so you just started to get curious and look into Buffett's holdings and his, I guess the report he puts out yearly. Is that how you first started to, or did you read like the Benjamin Graham's book or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I started out with an easier book to read. Like, I grew up in Taiwan, so, a lot of books I read about finance was actually in Taiwan. Technical analysis was in Taiwan, right? And I like to listen to these great investors, autobiography, so that how they got to where they were. And Buffett was actually a day trader back when he was maybe in his 20s or 30s. But then he slowly shifted away because he had bigger money to manage, and he just found out that he doesn't have an edge in that. So like, I think for everyone listening to this is that you can make money any way you want it, and there's people doing it, but then you have to find a way that works for you, suits your personality, suits the life you want, and not selling option and spending only 30 minutes per week. That suits my lifestyle and what I achieve, and I make 1 to 4% per month. I'm happy with it. I'm not making like crazy over 50 or 100%, but I'm happy making 1 to 4% per month, because by compounding, rule of 72, if I make just, let's just call it 24%, every 3 years I double my money. So the goal of this strategy is not so much about making a maximum return and have a chance of getting wiped out. It's about how can I keep growing at a consistent base and I keep compounding, but I never get wiped out. Because every time you get wiped out, it's kind of like if you lose 50% of your money, you need to make 100% back. So the maximum I want to lose is like, let's say 10%. So I only need to make 11% to come back. So the mentality is very different now, right? I will use all my money to invest and put on position, but I can't afford to lose, or I can't afford to lose too much. So the mentality is that preserving capital and then continue to grow it consistently. So most of my clients are more like, like have a bigger account, have a high income earner. They don't have time to do something full time, but they still want to have a time freedom, location freedom. So it's not for everyone, but for people like that, it suits your lifestyle, right?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's good that you're here explaining this, because this is something like for me and a lot of people that follow like my podcast or my what I've done up to now, it's like they start with a small amount of money, because I started with a small amount of money and I grew it to 7 figures. And that's what some of the people that follow me, they try to do. And it's like, one thing I've learned is like, once you only need to get rich once, is just saying, then you got to preserve it. So it's like when you mention Warren Buffett, it looks like that's what happened to him. He made some money. He went parabolic, and then it's like, okay, to keep going parabolic is kind of,
the odds are not in your favor, and the market do not allow you to do that because of the absorption rate. There's not enough things for you to do, right?
Yeah. So then you gotta diversify and find some other safer methods of compounding.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Look at Buffett is a perfect example. It's like he compounded so much over the years, but those long-term investments, they're just not as sexy, I guess,
Not as sexy, definitely. Like, I still get people come to me. So like, I really tell people is that if you want to go from $1,000 to $100,000, I'm not the guy. I'm sorry. But if you want to go for $100,000 and slowly grow to 1 million, maybe. But if you have $500,000 and you want to keep growing that to 1 million, 2 million, or just replace your full-time income, I'm the guy. So I can't bring you from rags to riches, but I can help you maintain, preserve capital, and continue to grow it. So you only spend on your profit, but not on your nest egg. So it's a very different mentality of things. So I'll be very upfront with everyone, right? I can't get you from rags to riches.
Well, but once you do get to the riches, you got to, or like you have wealth, because even if you work in your career or something, you're building some wealth. Yeah. And then it's like, you need some safer strategies, So no, it's cool. What do you think about the people trading options? This is too volatile?
I have seen people who trade options, day trading, swing trading, and all that. Option, like you said, could seem a bit more complex because option has a different dimension of things, right? So stock is just the price. Does it go up? Does it go down? But option, there's expiration. It's like an insurance contract, right? You sign up for a month, for a year. You got to renew it, right? So there's that expiration, and that expiration a lot of time add in a lot more factors. So, to me, it's like I always want to put myself in the shoes that I don't sweat too much. I know the worst case scenario is owning a stock I want to own, so I can sleep at night. But for people who are trading options, they can make it big, right? They basically can spend $1,000, they can make 10,000. But to me, that kind of stress doesn't fit me well, because I know if I do that, I'm gonna be watching my phone all the time, and I might not be very healthy physically. I might get into quarrel with my wife now, because when I'm traveling, I'm on a cruise, I'm always looking at my phone. I just don't think it's very healthy. So I just try to stay away from it, personally. That's just me.
So Cody, it's my first time talking one-on-one like this with a real estate expert. So I have some questions for you. So first, how did you get into real estate?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not a real estate expert. I just grind through it. I make my mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes, hopefully to make a bit less. Now, how do I get into real estate? As you know, banks love high income earners. So when I was working at Honda for 6 years, my income only go up steadily every 6%, 10% every year. And I have those track record. Banks love me. They saw the name of the company Honda. They saw my position. They're like, Cody, what do you want? How much of a personal line of credit? Oh, you want mortgage? No problem. Times 6. You make $100,000, you can get $600,000. No problem. No question asked. As long as you give me a job letter. So that's how I got in. So while I was like putting small money in stocks, my mom, coming from Asia, all these Asian people love hoarding real estate, right? So my mom's like, you gotta buy a house you're gonna live in. So I'm like, I don't have a family at that time. Okay, I'm gonna buy a house nearby Honda so that I get my foot in the door. Potentially, if I have a family, that's a house I'm gonna live in. So that was the first house I bought. But then at that time, I think I saved up $73,000, but I'm short of $37,000 because it was a $500,000 house. I need to put 20% down. So mom was like, I will lend you the $37,000. So I come up with $70,000. She came up with $37,000. And that's how I got my first house. And anyway, the story about that is maybe for a different day. I just say that house right now, we got lucky because of the zoning. It can build 11-story apartments. So the value, let's just say a minimum quadruple, right? So that was a good experience. We haven't sold it, but then I found out, oh my God, there's that potential. So I start to keep buying houses. I'm like, I'm not gonna get lucky like that. But so I started buying real estate. I converted into a duplex, kind of like you buy a single family home and you convert the basement into livable space legally, put in the renter, I get more rent, and then I go refinance from the bank. So I spend, let's say buy a house for $500,000, I spend $100K in it, I pull out all the money and I move on to the next one. I move on to the next one until after COVID, it stopped working because the price just went up too much. So really just all my hard-earned money, I put in real estate. As the price goes up, I refinance out some of the money, make sure it's still cash flow positive, right? What I mean by that is the rent I receive, subtract by all the mortgage, all the expenses, I still have a little bit of money at the end of the month for rainy day for that property. Good. Then I pull all the money as much as possible, use it as a down payment to buy the next house. And right now, that strategy is not working anymore. So I'm stuck. I can't buy any more property without really taking a lot of risks and really find the deal. Back in the days before 2019, you can literally buy any house you will win, but now you got to be very careful. I'm from Canada, right? Toronto. Housing price is similar to LA, right? In terms of the income to price ratio. Same thing in LA. Everything goes up, nothing cash flow. You got to be very innovative, right? You can't buy a single family, expect you're going to rent it out and make a couple thousand per month. No, you cannot. You just maybe have to buy a 4-plex, buy a 8-plex, 8 unit, and then convert it into a 20 unit. But then we get into a lot of construction and a lot of risks, a lot of development, a lot of delays. You have to know how to manage trades, manage contractor, manage the tenant, how to kick them out if they don't pay. Then that's, I'm kind of at this point, I'm like, do I really want all of those hassle, all of those risks, of those human risks, or do I just want to put my money where I know the best is the stock market? And people might say options very risky, but in my opinion, because I know it, I know my worst case scenario is owning a stock I want to own. Why don't I just put my money there? I make 10, 20, whatever, 30% per year. That's still better than going with all those hassle of managing contractor, all those risks. And put my wife on stress leave because she was managing one project for me. We spent $800,000 building a house. and put her on stress leave, right? Because the contractor don't show up, the toilet break in the middle of the night. Oh my, the city is giving a hard time. So I'm like, you know what? At this age of the time, I just want less trouble, less stress, and money just grow consistently. I'm okay to have some volatility, but as long as I keep growing and I can travel the world, I don't want to deal with tenant, whole different profile. I don't want more of real estate in Canada at this point.
Okay, so a couple of things there. So for me personally, right, I've done well in trading, and I kind of just stuck to investing in trading related things in like my university, podcasts. I got some books coming out. I'm kind of scared to invest in things outside of that because it's worked so well for me. Always investing in myself. And the entrepreneurs that I follow and I read their books and their audiobooks and podcasts, they always say, invest in yourself. And there's also some other podcasts I listened to that said, don't buy real estate. Invest in your rent and use the cash to invest in yourself instead. Always bet on yourself. And that's what I've been doing. However, I have family, like I have a Persian side.
Yeah, Asian family. They like hoarding houses.
Yeah, they love hoarding houses. And they're telling David, the housing, it doesn't go down, it goes up. In 5 years, you sell it for profit. And it sounds good, but I know there's going to be a lot of headache involved. I know in Los Angeles, for example, there's a big problem with people squatting.
Yeah.
And now they try to find loopholes to not pay rent.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh, I bet. So I was like, man, if I'm doing all that, how am I going to, because my trading takes up, so like I'm very active daily. I need to start looking into the options because, it's like, I got to be laser focused, like an Olympic level athlete, gladiator every day. And if I can't be that Olympic level gladiator, Rocky Balboa every day in the morning, if I got a renter squatting in the house and I got the contractor not showing up, how am I going to do all that?
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, what do I do? So, but eventually I do want to own something. So you just heard me. I've been inspired by many successful people that I met to start working on something bigger than trading. Day trading is an active business that I've been running for the past 8 years. This career has given me so much. Now I'm looking to add other meaningful experiences to my life. I'm learning more about long-term investing. I've also just finished authoring my first book ever, and I've set up the Friendly Bear University to help more like-minded traders approach trading the right way. What is on your to-do list right now? What do you need to do to keep progressing in this life? Please share your thoughts with me too.
The market has shifted a lot because the price goes up so much and the rent did not catch up to pay for the cash flow. But the reason why, if someone's Canadian listening to this and you don't have your first house, I would strongly encourage you to buy your first house. And the reason for that is not because I really took out $500,000 from my first house. It's because in Canada, there is a tax advantage. You don't have it in US. That's the only part we can laugh at US and be like, we got you on that one. It's called the principal residence capital gain exemption. What that's saying is that as long as I live in this house, all the capital gain I get over the years, when I sell it, I pay zero tax. You guys don't have that in US.
I think in Puerto Rico.
And maybe in Puerto Rico, but that's the only thing in Canada that works. And what I have seen a lot of people that done over 10 years is this. They're a contractor, they buy a $500,000 house, they put in $200,000, they sold it for $1 million. So they take the profit, buy a $2 million house, they spend $500,000, they sold it for $4 million. They took the profit, they buy a $6 million house, they spend $2 million, they move up to a $10 million house. And every profit that they sold, those capital gain, were tax-free. This is how they kind of, I wouldn't call it loopholes, all legit. This is a strategic way to move up and accumulate capital. But if it's a rental property like what I have, there's an inclusion rate. So, if I bought it for $500,000, I sold it for $1 million, that $500,000, I'm simplifying terms, $500,000, I need to pay $500,000 of that 250, I need to be taxed 50% on. So it's not really efficient. There's other efficient way, but if you just like in Canada, not having buy your first property, do it. But now after the second, third one, it's almost like, Canada is more socialist, right? So they just want to help you to a point, but you don't get too rich, you don't get too poor. We keep you in this little mid-range. Not like US is fully capitalist, right? There's so many, depreciation and in the first year, all that stuff. There's not a lot of that in Canada. So I was like start drooling when I look at US tech segregation. So
I see. So are there any like Canadian billionaires that pop into your head, or maybe Drake? Drake is from Toronto, right?
yeah, Drake is from Toronto. I actually filmed a few video outside of his house. He has like a 12 feet fence, and he got an approval from the city of Toronto to build it because he's like, I'm a celebrity. I don't want people looking over me, right? Billionaire, there's not as many billionaires in Canada, and whether they get rich from real estate, I'm sure there's ways that they can really capitalize on their capital gain growth and all that. But just knowing that the tax in Canada is, they really stop you, or at least put in a lot of hurdles for you to becoming true rich. There's a lot less flexibility compared to US. The banks are more conservative. Like for example, I have like handful of property. Now I want the sixth one. They're like, give me everything from your first 5. Tell me, why do you want the 6? Then why? I'm like, I'm building my real estate portfolio. No. Tell me really, why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm trying to build wealth. And they're like, no. Like they really don't understand that what you're trying to do. They're just like, why are you not happy with your first house? Just live in it, pay off your mortgage, right? They don't have that mentality in Canada. Just like, sit down, go work. Don't worry, if you're not good, we'll take care of you as a government. But that's what the mentality trying to put on you. Whereas I'm an anomaly in Canada, and I feel like in US the mentality fits me more.
Wow. Has it always been like that since you've been there?
And it's always been more conservative in terms of like financing. No, there's nothing wrong being conservative with banks, right? But even like the cities, they don't listen to you. They're just like, we're sticking with our own ways. They're always thinking like, if I help you out, what's the benefit I get? Nothing. But if I stick to the old way, my boss is happy, no change is happy, right? So they're in that mentality. But the reality is that they're getting phased out, right? If you look at our GDP comparing to US since 2014, our GDP, real GDP growth is 2%. US is like here, right? So, that gap is becoming wider, right? Not going to any politics and all that. I know a lot of people say, Cody, like get into it, but I'm not getting into that. I'm just talking about the facts is that Canada's lagging behind because of those mentality and because of the policy that's been made, like really trying to protect the people there. But at the end of the day, I believe that if you want a company to grow, the leaders have to grow, so they create more jobs, more money, so people can spend more. And that's what keeps the machine going.
So now that you have achieved financial freedom, what are your current commitments and what motivates you?
If I don't have a team, because I have hundreds of clients that we are gonna planning to launch our hedge fund in 1 to 2 years, and have hundreds of clients. Half of them want to fly on their own, half of them want to invest with me. So that's why I'm keeping this team and then promote the best people to work for my hedge fund, writing the algorithm and doing the research and all that. So I was like telling my team, like, you know what, like I will do it as long as it's fun. And that's what I wake up every day is like thinking, okay, I gotta make sure I have salary to pay them, right? If not enough, I gotta fund them from my own account, but I have a bigger goal. Like while I help these people, the goal is to actually, have a hedge fund, and the people that have, just happy with trading on their own, they can stay here. That's really my goal of helping it. And, sometimes it's stressful because you're dealing with a lot of people. Sometimes I'm like, why don't I just stop everything? I just trade on my own. I have big enough account. I just move around. But I'm like, Cody, that's a little bit selfish of you. It's almost like you achieve it, you didn't share it. Because I was accused of only helping rich people from family member. They told me like, Cody, you only help the rich people. I'm like, wait, that hurts a little bit of me inside because I come from a middle class family, right? So I'm like, okay, I want to keep that going, but I want to have a bigger goal as well, which is actually manage my own money and manage other people's money. And that's where we're heading. So I have like kind of balancing out that with like this more of a human intensive operation going on. And so far I'm still okay with it. Still have to make a few changes, but so far it's having fun. I traveled about 12 times last year. And then, trying to be a little bit more hands off and just making the strategy decision. That's really what's keeping me busy and what keeps me wake up every day. And if one day it become no more fun, I could shut everything down, like just like that, right? Of course, I gotta make sure the clients are okay and all that. But if it's no more fun, I don't feel like that's the true purpose. That serves my purpose, and I'm not really helping people. I'll stop.
Beautiful. And where'd you travel to?
Oh my! I was just telling you, I was in like Puerto Rico last year, and I spent my New Year in Hokkaido, Japan, and I was in Korea. I was in Thailand. I was in Singapore, I was in Malaysia. So like when you hear me like traveling a lot, I actually like to experience different culture, and also I look at a lot of the real estate. Let's say in Morocco and just an up and coming country. I'm trying to find the next country that I can put in to invest in when no one's talking about it. And I like the culture and I can bet on it. I know that because of this culture, they will become strong. And so whenever I'm traveling, I kind of look at those kind of factors and just enjoy the culture too, right? So it's kind of like a mix of everything, so I can write things off. So I keep a log of what I visit. I visit this real estate agent, but at the same time, I spend a good amount of my time just really enjoy the food. And my wife, Claudette, loves to travel. And that's
beautiful.
At current state, I'm enjoying that, right? But once I have kids, I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think about LA? Because you're traveling here for a little bit.
Yeah, so I just came into LA downtown. So far, it seems like just Toronto and Vancouver. There's some weird people on the street. But the last week, I was staying in Orange County and in Long Beach
different area
and Irvine. I don't know what people are talking about. That's why now I know.
It's beautiful over there.
I used to have a podcast co-host. She lives in Irvine. So whenever I said she's from LA, she always correct me and say, no, Cody, I'm from Irvine.
Yeah, it's suburbs.
Yeah.
And it's like nice suburbs. You can raise a family out there. There's a beach. It's clean. Yeah. It's almost pristine, probably.
Yeah.
Here downtown, it's cool. We're in a skyscraper right now. Got the athletic club, got the city club. We got like a lot of cool restaurants. But like there are some weirdos walking around. You're amongst the weirdos. Yeah. And the sidewalks have cracks in it. And it's kind of dirty, but it's kind of... Some areas are clean, but Orange County is pristine. It's like everybody there is on point,
I think if you're like you and me, if we're single, we have muscle, we have some tattoo, I'm okay walking in LA, I can protect myself. But as with the wife and kids, I think safety will be a first concern.
And Irvine too.
Okay, so Cody, looking back at your journey, what are 3 advice that you would give to people who are working towards financial freedom?
3 advice?
Yeah.
If I didn't get the boot in 2019, I wouldn't be where I am today. So sometimes there's some luck involved. Sometimes there's your own timeline involved. So whatever you're doing now, if you feel like you're grinding, you feel like, why am I waking up? Why am I doing this? I should be like Cody, traveling around the world, trading options, but my account's not big enough. Dude, sometimes what helped me was the high income job. So if you need to push over 100K, whatever, to accumulate those capital, to really start making a difference, like you could do day trading and all that. But in my opinion, it's a bit tougher for my style. But a more average way to make that is just increase your income. Do whatever, second job, third job. Make greater income so you can save more, so you have more bullets to invest. Then eventually, if you accumulate, don't make big mistake and wipe things out, because wiping things out, you're going back to ground zero, all the hard work, right? So try not to wipe those out. And then that grind, let it grind. And then whatever, if you like learn about communication, I took Dale Carnegie course about communication. I was a coach there. Learn about communication and how to be great to people, and like keep all your great connections, because you never know when you're gonna not like need it, but like treat people well. Like try to provide value first. So don't be like always like rushing. It's like, man, why am I not here? Why am I not making this amount of return? It's all part of the process. And when the opportunity comes, you'll be capitalized on it, and you will look back and be like, oh, every single one of those going in like this, there's a reason for it. So that was my number 1 advice to people. Just don't rush it. You can push harder, but take care of your body. Time will come for you. And time came for me in 2019, right? It was when I was 29. Might come for people when they're older. I have clients from 24 who works for Google all the way up to 75 who's retired, and they're like, Cody, I sold 2 of my property. I have 2 million now. I don't want to be a burden to my kids or grandkids. I want to buy one of them each house, but I still want to make money for myself. And they came to me at 75 and they feel like they were lost. But I'm like, you're not lost, you're a millionaire. They're like, no, Cody, like, you don't get it. Like, it's scary to use my own money, like nest egg. So everyone's at different stage. Everyone's nervous about money. No matter you and I, billionaires, they're all nervous about money. So everyone has their own journey. Just like do it on your own pace. You can push a bit harder. Everything happened for a reason. That's my biggest advice. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Cody, thanks for coming to LA and doing this podcast videos, man. It's been great. And thanks for sharing your wealth of wisdom with options, real estate, your career, your changing careers and starting over again. And all this has been great. It's just going to inspire a lot of people.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Cody, so where can people find you?
Yeah, you just type in Cody Yeh, CodyYeh on Google. I can't hide. The first 10 pages all me. I have a YouTube channel called Cody Yeh Investing, where we have a new YouTube channel called USA Update, where we focus more, not just on investing, but more on economical or geopolitical analysis that can help you in your personal life, business life, or maybe investing life as well.
What is your biggest takeaway from this podcast? Please also share your feedback with me on how I can make my content better for you. I'd like to remind the traders who are looking for a better trading broker that this is your best chance to switch to a top-tier broker, Cobra Trading. If you sign up and fund your account in April, you will get a chance to tour the New York Stock Exchange with me. Only 3 invitations left, so take action quickly. Using my link in the description, you will also get a special discount for Cobra Prime, which gives you access to all my other trading tools, including Trade Ideas, Ask Edgar, Flash Research, and Dilution Tracker. Thank you, Cobra Trading, for supporting my podcast. You guys can watch the interview on Cody's channel over there. I talked about some of my most personal stories and trading secrets in this video. See you there.